Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. And I'm continuing the series of my favourite top 10, 15, 20, 30 albums from 1965 to 1989, and I put a poll up with 1986, 1988 and 1989 and 1986 one. Now in the poll it says a top 15, but I'm actually going to do a top 20 because the year was better than what I thought it was going to be. And so, as normal, I'll start with three bubbling unders, and they are Lou Reed's Mistrial, which often gets slated for having serious 80s production. I don't think it does. I think Lou Reed escaped that 80s sound, although there's hints of it. But the tracks I really do like on that are Outside, No Money Down, the title track, and I Remember You. I think it's a beautiful wee song at the end. There is one serious clunker though with the original rapper. The next one is The Stranglers and Dreamtime, and the singles Nice and Nice, Always the Sun, Big in America and Shaking Like a Leaf. And You Always Reap What You Sow is a very good track. It's not a bad album at all. And the third one is actually the Pet Shop Boys, which I very rarely mention, but I do like their album Please from '86. And there's some really big singles off it, obviously West End Girls, Opportunities, Suburbia, Love Comes Quickly, but absolutely adore the first track, 2 Divided by 0, I think it's great. So getting into my top 20, and at number 20, and a bit of a guilty pleasure I suppose, and it's Madonna's True Blue. Now this is a big #1 album, but it's got 3 #1 hit singles in the UK on this. And I can't think of any other studio album that has 3 #1 hits on it. If you know, please let me know below, but it has to be the UK of course. And the 3 #1 hits are Papa Don't Preach, La Isla Bonita and the title track True Blue. And there's 2 other really big singles off this as well, Open Your Heart and Live to Tell. But one of my favourite tracks is the song White Heat with the Jimmy Cagney impression, or if it, I don't know if it's actually lifted from a movie or whatever, but it sounds like Jimmy Cagney. I think it's a great track. Jimmy Jimmy's not bad, and Where's the Party is a bit of a throwaway, but I do like this album. It just takes me back to whenever I was 20 years old, so Madonna's True Blue gets me number 20. At number 19, and a bit of debate whether this is from 1986 or 1987. It actually says 1987 on the back of the sleeve, and it is Jennifer Warren's Famous Blue Raincoat. Now in Discogs it says 86, and Wikipedia it says 86. So I've already done 87, and if it was 87 it would have got on the list, so I'm taking it as 86. And this really is just an album of Leonard Cohen covers. However, 2 of the tracks she actually recorded or released before Leonard Cohen, those being Ain't No Cure for Love and First We Take Manhattan, which both featured on the I'm the Man album from 1988. But this is really good. You know, it's nice to hear the old Leonard Cohen songs really fleshed out with a band. And Bird on a Wire's beautiful version, Famous Blue Raincoat itself, has got Leonard Cohen as a guest vocalist as well, so excellent, as is Joan of Arc. Coming Back to Me is very good, and Came So Far from Beauty. It's a very good album. It just goes to show that he was a really good songwriter, and it's nice to hear these songs fleshed out, and Jennifer Warren's a great singer, so it gets my number 19. At number 18, and we have Animal Magic by the Blow Monkeys. Now this is really just Blue Eyed Soul, and I think it's really good. There's a few singles off this. Digging Your Scene was quite a big hit, as was Wicked Ways, which I actually bought that single when it came out. Forbidden Fruit's a great track too. I think was the very first single. And there's one more, I think it may have been Sweet Murder, which is a great funky track, but I really like the track Animal Magic. It races along nicely in the vocals, and then it sort of slows down in the chorus, which I think is really good. Aeroplane City Love Song is quite acoustic. I think it is very good. I Nearly Died Laughing. The thing about that, I really like the chorus, because the way they start singing the chorus, you think they're going to hit different notes, but it goes slightly in a different direction, and it works so well. But as I say, this is Blue Eyed Soul. It's very 80s in sound, and I think it's really good. So the Blow Monkeys, Animal Magic, gets my number 18. At number 17, and a very underrated album by this band, but this is pretty good, and it's Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, The Pacific Age. Now the big hit single off this was Forever Live and Die, which is great. Stay, The Black Rose and The Universal Wheel I think is very, very good. The Dead Girls is probably the one that sounds like OMD back in around 1980-81, which I think is excellent. Watch Us Fall with the Horns is a beautiful little tune. We Love You, a very minor hit single, but it's very good as well. Shame, which is another single, I think is excellent too. It's a good album. It's not their best from the 80s, but it's much better than a lot of people give credit for, so OMD gets my number 17. And number 16, you might think it's too low, but I think it's where it deserves to be, and it's So by Peter Gabriel. This to me is very overproduced and very 80s in sound as well. For example, Sledgehammer is one of the most 80s sounding songs ever. I like it, it's just not my favourite. Don't Give Up with Kate Bush is gorgeous. Red Rain is a really good track. Big Time was another single. In Your Eyes, I don't know if that was a single here, but I think it was in America, which is a fantastic song. But my two favourites off this are That Voice Again, which does have an 80s sound to it, but I think it's got a great chorus, and the very moody Mercy Street. Really good album, much better than Invisible Touch by Genesis, which obviously doesn't get on my list. So Peter Gabriel, So gets my number 16. And at number 15 we have Revenge by the Rhythmics. And this is definitely their poppiest album. This is pure pop. It starts off with Missionary Man, which was a single, really good, quite rocky, plenty of harmonica in it as well. Thorn in My Side, really, really catchy. When Tomorrow Comes is almost like a 60s soul track, really, really good. The Last Time wasn't a single, but it could have been. Excellent track. And then Miracle of Love, which is a beautiful ballad. So that's side one, 4 of them were actually singles. Side 2 starts off with Let's Go, and that's very, very good as well. Then it falls apart a little bit with Take Your Pain Away, which I don't think is good, but it comes back with a little bit of You. And then I Remember You is a very good track as well. Again, as I say, very, very pop, and I think it's one of their better albums, so Revenge gets my number 15. And at number 14, you'll be shaking your head saying this is far too low. But I'm not really into this band at the moment, that's why I can't give them any higher. And it's XTC and Skylarking. Now I know this is a lot of people's favourite album of 86. I do like it, but at the moment I'm just not into XTC. Yeah, this is the one with The Meeting Place on it, which is not a bad single. Season Cycle has got a very sort of a Beach Boys sound to it. The best part of this is the opener, Summer's Cauldron going into Grass, which I think is really, really good. I could listen to that anytime, whether I'm into them or not. Another Satellite's very atmospheric. Earn Enough for Us is not a bad song, it's single material. Mermaid Smile is a bit of an acoustic number with a few bongos in there as well. And Sacrificial Bonfire, Colin Moulding acoustic song. This version is a reissue and has Dear God on it. I don't think it should be on it because it never was on it. But still, yeah, it's a very good album. I do like it, but I'm just not into XTC at the moment. So at the moment I have to put it at number 14. Now at number 13 is an artist you've probably never heard of because he's actually a local artist. And it's Gregory Gray and Think of Swans. Now this probably sold about 10 copies worldwide. And Gregory Gray, you know, he was from Northern Ireland. He pronunciates his words very sharply, but I think it's so good, and the actual tracks are brilliant. He was in a band called Perfect Crime who released 2 singles, one in '83 called Brave and another in '84 called I Feel Like an Eskimo. So this is actually his first album. He went solo for this and remains solo. Unfortunately he passed away about 4 years ago. But it opens up with Life of Riley, which has got such an infectious chorus. There is some spoken dialogue in it, and it's quite funny whenever you hear his accent, because again it's just down the road from me. James Bond's not bad. Life and Times is a really upbeat little catchy song. Johnny Purify is gorgeous with all the strings. It's just very atmospheric. Strawberries, I think, was a single, is a funky little number, and it's really, really good. And Charlie Gets Hurt's not bad, not the best. Books to Read Twice, I think, was the very first single, which is a good track. And Speechless, another very, very good song. I really do like this album. And he released 2 more albums, one in around 89 and another was about 94 or so on CD, and I have them as well, and they're pretty good too, but this is the one for me. Think the Swans by Gregory Gray. And at number 12 I have R.E.M's Life's Rich Pageant. Yeah, this is the one with Fall On Me on it, which I think was a single. I'm not too sure which songs released as singles in the IRS years, but the track for me that I absolutely love is I Believe, with the banjo at the start. I think it's one of their best ever songs. Begin to Begin is a very, very good opener, and Hyena is a very good song as well. Cuyahoga I think is very, very good, and These Days a very good track. This is just basic R.E.M. Like, there's nothing new here, but it's very good, and a lot of the songs are very strong, and I think this is probably their first really good album for me. And then they went on to do Document and then Green. So R.E.M's Life's Rich Pageant gets my number 12. And at number 11 we have Elvis Costello, King of America. Well, actually the Costello Show, and it's one of 2 albums they released this year, and this is quite acoustic. It's got some really great tracks like Little Palaces and Brilliant Mistakes, a beautiful song to open it up. Lovable, very, very catchy. There's a track on here called Indoor Fireworks, which Nick Lowe actually recorded before him. I do prefer the Nick Lowe's version, but this is pretty good as well. And The Big Light, Johnny Cash went on to record as well, which I think I prefer the Johnny Cash version. I think the reason being is that I heard their versions first. But yeah, very, very good album. Our Little Angel, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood was a single, which I think was a weird choice, but yeah, I think it's excellent. And Poisoned Rose, another very, very good song. So King of America for Elvis Costello, or The Costello Show, gets my number 11. At number 10, and we have Van Morrison and No Guru, No Method, No Teacher. This is a really, really beautifully produced album. It just sounds so good. The opening track, Got to Go Back, is really good. In the Warm Feeling, beautiful song. Turning Oak, another beautiful song. I think the most famous one off this is In the Garden, with all that tinkling piano. It's just really well recorded. It's a bit like his next one, Poetic Champions Composed. It's just a beautiful album to listen to. You don't really pick out the tracks, you just let it flow, and it just sounds so good, and it gets my number 10. At number 9, and we have the Bangles and Different Light. And this is the one with the 2 big hit singles, Manic Monday, written by Prince under the name Christopher, and Walk Like an Egyptian. But there's a lot more to this as well. In a Different Light itself is a really good wee rocker. Walking Down Your Street's got that Motown feel to it, which was a single. Standing in the Hallway with the synth in it is really, really catchy. The best single off this is If She Knew What She Wants, which I think is fantastic. The harmonies are beautiful on it. Following was a single by Mickey Steele, and it's not as good. It's atmospheric. It's a very good LP track, but not for being a single. And September Girls, which is a cover of the Big Star song. Yeah, excellent album. I still prefer their debut, but still this is pretty good, and it gets my number 9. At number 8, and an album that I never really liked, and it's only over the past few years that I've got to really appreciate it, and I'm a huge fan of this band, and it's Queen, A Kind of Magic. This actually is a really good album, and I don't know why I didn't like it for quite a while. I think it was side 2 that put me off, like things like Don't Lose Your Head and Give Me the Prize, which I actually really like now. Princes of the Universe is excellent. And I do like Who Wants to Live Forever, which whenever it came out as a single I couldn't stand. But the big hits off this are One Vision, still not one of my favourites. Kind of Magic is a very good pop song. Friends Will Be Friends is a bit sort of sweet and saccharine, but I do like it. And Pain Is So Close to Pleasure, I thought was a very poor attempt at Motown, but I actually quite like it now. So Queen's A Kind of Magic gets my number 8. And at number 7 we have Elvis Costello again, and it's Blood and Chocolate. And I think this is with the Attractions, it is indeed. And it sounds like it as well, and it's produced by Nick Lowe. Now the 2 singles off it, there are actually 3 singles. Tokyo Storm Warning is a really, really good song. Don't know if it was a great choice of single. I Want You is a brilliant song, but it's definitely not a good choice of single. It starts off like a little folk song, and then it goes into this really slow, dirgy song with I Want You nearly at the start of every single verse. But I really do enjoy it. Blue Chair was a single as well, which they beefed up for single release. I prefer this version to the single version. But it opens up with Uncomplicated, which I really think is a good punchy opener. I Hope You're Happy Now, I think, is the obvious choice of a single. There's a track called Home Is Anywhere You Hang Your Hat, which I think is excellent. Battered Old Bird, his vocals are brilliant on it. And then Next Time Around is one of my favourite tracks as well, which has got a little bit of a 60s guitar feel to it, which I think is very good. So Blood and Chocolate gets my number 7. And number 6 and number 5 are actually 2 very underrated albums in my book. For number 6 it's Electric Light Orchestra and Balance of Power. This normally comes at the end of everybody's ELO list. I don't understand why, because it's got 2 great singles in Calling America and So Serious. Catchy, really, really catchy. Getting to the Point, the 3rd single, is a good track, but it's not single material, it's a good LP track. Heaven Only Knows has got a bit of a disco vibe to it, which sort of reminds me a little bit of Shine a Little Love. Without Someone, I think would have been a top 5 hit. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a slow song, very atmospheric, but it's absolutely beautiful. Endless Lies has got the Roy Orbison feel to it. He would have done a great job of that. Send It, very, very catchy. Secret Lives, another really good song. This, to me, is far better than the previous album, Secret Messages, and why everybody thinks is poor, I do not understand, and it gets my number 6. And at number 5, and this falls nearly at the end of everybody else's McCartney list, and it's Press to Play. And yeah, I do like this. It does have the 80s production, but the songs are so strong, and I don't mind this 80s production. Press is a brilliant single, don't care what you say, with a really good video. Pretty Little Head, I think, is very atmospheric. It's very experimental, and it didn't work as a single, although give them credit for releasing it. Good Times Coming, Feel the Sun. If that doesn't make you feel happy, nothing will. Talk More Talk, I used to hate it with a passion, but I actually really do like it. And then there's one of his best ever songs of the 80s, in Footprints. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and to me would have been a number 1 hit if released at Christmas, because it does have that slight Christmas feel to it. Move Over Buskers, standard enough. Angry is not a bad little rocker, however Absurd's not bad. Only Love Remains was the biggest hit off this, which is a fair McCartney ballad. I think this is a really good album, and I don't think he's bettered this since, apart from McCartney 3, and that's just my own view, but Press to Play gets my number 5. At number 4, and we have the Housemartins and London Nil, Hull 4. And the single, the big hit off this is Happy Hour. Think for a Minute was also released, but in a different version. It was released as an acoustic track. This version I think is better. We're Not Deep is one of my all-time favourite Housemartins tracks. Get Off Your Knees is really good with that sort of keyboard, sort of descending riff, really, really good. Over There is another great track. Sheep was a single. A little bit too much like Happy Hour for me, although in more acoustic type form. Flag Day was their debut song, which is good, slightly different version as a single. And Reverence Revenge is a bit of an instrumental, which I think is very good. Excellent album. I do prefer their second one, but it's still good enough to get my number 3 for 86. Number 4, sorry. And my number 3 is The Pretenders and Get Close, and this one gets slated as well, but I love it. This is the one with Don't Get Me Wrong and Hymn to Her, which were 2 big top 10 hits in the UK. My Baby, absolutely brilliant track, was a single, didn't do that well. When I Changed My Life is fantastic. I Remember You, which is a very, very short song, absolutely love it. And Chill Factor is one of my favourite Pretenders tracks, although I do prefer the acoustic version on the I Love You double album from the mid-90s. You can get some more dancey tracks like Dance, Traditional Love, Light of Moon, but I think it really, really works. There's a little bit of everything in here, and I just think it's a really good, strong album. So Pretenders gets close, gets my number 3. And my number 2 is, sorry Rob Walker, is Paul Simon's Graceland. And you have The Boy in the Bubble, brilliant. Graceland, brilliant. Diamonds in the Soles of His Shoes, absolutely fantastic. And then the big hit single was You Can Call Me Al, which I really do like. Under African Sky is a beautiful track, and Homeless with Ladysmith Black Mambaza I think is excellent as well. It does tail off at the end a little bit with Crazy Love, That Was Your Mother, and All Around the World, but they're still decent enough tracks. But I had this in '86, I bought this when it came out, and I taped this on one side of a C90, and on the other side of that C90 was my number 1 album, and it's The Smiths' The Queen Is Dead. And this is probably the second best album of the 80s. This was played really to death. In fact, I couldn't listen to this for about 10 years because I really had overplayed it. The Queen Is Dead, starting off with Take Me Back to Dear Old Blighty, and whenever those drums kick in and that crunchy Johnny Marr guitar, it's brilliant, and it's got some of Morrissey's best and funniest lyrics. Frankly, Mr. Shankly, really catchy little number. I Know It's Over, Oh Mother, I Can Feel the Soil Falling Over My Head. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and it's a pretty long song, but it doesn't outstay its welcome. Never Had No One Ever is probably the weakest track on this, but I still really do love it. Then you get the little acoustic Cemetery Gates, which is great. Big Mouth Strikes Again and The Boy with a Thorn in His Side, 2 really good hit singles. Vicar and a Tutu, I remember them seeing that live on one of the shows. I just couldn't wait for the album to come out because that was before this was released. And There's a Light That Never Goes Out, well, everybody knows that. And it was released as a single in the 90s. It did quite well. And Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others, which is good, but again, it's not the best of it. This is a fantastic album, end of story, and if you haven't heard this, you have to listen to it. So The Smiths' The Queen Is Dead is my number 1 from '86. Okay, that's my top 20 from 1986. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will put another poll up. We're nearly 3/4 of the way through, and I've been really enjoying this series. So that's me for now, and I hope to have the next video quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.